Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Thepromise. It is July 23rd. This is the Monday News Rundown. It is July 23rd, which means the Steam Summer Sale has ended at some point this afternoon for most of you. And I hope, with my heart of hearts, that you have come out unscathed and with a home. I personally have not gone completely broke. I acquired quite a few games. I managed to make it out of the Steam sale with a game purchased to dollar spent ratio of about 2.5 to 3. So my library has expanded considerably, and I am not completely fucking poor. No, I am completely fucking poor, but I'm not completely broke, and I think that's an important distinction to make. I'm super poor, but I still have some money. No thanks to Steam. But I'm hoping that for most of you, you got to take advantage of a lot of those deals. Most of them I bought just because they were $3.75, and I can't pass up a game for $3.75. Actually, I don't think I can pass up anything for $3.75. I think that's a good price point to make me buy anything. $3.75 is my price point. But a lot of quality titles, and I'm hoping that a lot of you picked them up because there will be gaming to be had. I don't think I'm going to make it through. No, not most. Most is actually really optimistic. I don't think I'm going to be making it through a lot of my games. I'll play them all, but I don't think I'm going to beat them. But that's my problem. That's not your problem. So, it's Monday. News has happened in this past week. What kind of news? I'll tell you what kind of news. The first bit of news that I will be telling you about might seem a little weird, but you'll understand why in a second. I'll be talking to you fine folks about the Defense of Marriage Act. And for those of you who are not American and or don't give a shit about the world around you, the Defense of Marriage Act is pretty much a law that was signed, I think close to 20 years ago. Possibly more. Apparently I don't give a shit about the world around me. It was signed a while ago. And what it said was, marriage is only between a man and a woman, and only those marriages can reap the legal benefits of being a married couple. And as of late, there have been quite a few pushes to get that law repealed, especially with the rise of the LGBT community. They've been trying to get it repealed because it's just really not fair to a lot of Americans, and it leaves a lot of people in the dark, and it doesn't allow them to be helped. And my personal stance on gay marriage is that it's not my right or anyone else's right to decide who gets to be happy and who gets to spend the rest of their lives with whoever else and get the same benefits as a male-female couple. I don't feel it's anyone's right to dictate that. If you're happy, you're happy. You should be able to live your life happily and comfortably, with the same benefits as everyone else. So recently, a lot of pretty big companies have come out in support of getting this act taken down, such as Gap, Google, and Starbucks, just to name a couple. But more importantly, why this is an actual article that I can talk to you guys about is that a lot of gaming companies have hopped on the train, and not just any, like really big names like EA, Microsoft, and Zynga. And that's huge. I mean, those are really big names, not only in gaming, but in business in general, in the world in general. I mean, those are big, big names, and that's a lot of support that they can garner, for this cause. And okay, I haven't really been amicable. I want to say amiable, but I think I would have had to have met them first. It doesn't matter. I haven't been nice to EA in the past. I have no love lost for them. I don't. But this is a good thing. And it doesn't really do anything to repair their relationship with me. But at least I have something that I can say EA has done and has done right. This, I believe, is a good move. However, I think all three of them have come out and really claimed opposition for business reasons by saying that the act is discriminatory, it hurts company morale, and really makes for some human resources nightmares. So, I get it. You can't come out and just say, we are for gay marriage. You can't speak for an entire company because not everyone in that company shares your views. You can't do that. So this is better than nothing. This might be the best they can do. It still feels like a watered-down victory because they're, claiming, for the most part, personal gain. But then again, I guess you can say that about anybody who opposes the Defense of Marriage Act. It really is for personal gain. Unless you're like me and there isn't a personal gain, it's just personal preference and what I believe is right. No matter what the reason, it is a good thing, and I think it goes a long way to showing the world that the gaming industry is full of good people with good ideas and good intentions, which, is not the rap we always get by the media. So this is a welcome change of pace. And it's a welcome shot in the arm for anyone who might want to look down on the gaming industry as ne'er-do-wells and non-contributors. I think this is really cool. And as of yesterday, Diablo 3 had a God mode. Interesting. It's not really a God mode. It was actually a glitch that you could exploit as a wizard where you just couldn't die. So I'm sure people spent hours just farming nonstop, getting items, getting some really fat loot, which for the most part isn't really anyone's problem, except that, oh yeah, you can sell that shit for real money. That's not good. That's not good. You can't allow something like that to exist in a game where you can make monetary profit by playing the game. Okay, like that it doesn't just hurt people's sense of propriety in this game that they love. It hurts people in the purse strings, people who sell items on the Real Money Auction House, people who buy items on the Real Money Auction House. Both sides of this can be affected negatively by this. It drives down prices. It can also drive up prices depending on how many of these items that you find that are worth some considerable money. Really, it's a fucked up situation for a game where you're allowed to sell your shit for money. And, personally, I have been in opposition of the Real Money Auction House since it was announced. I get it. I get why it's there. I'm not stupid. I played Diablo 2. I understand that there were so many companies that were trying to sell me gold and items and runes, and Blizzard decided that there's no real way to stop them from doing that, but what they can do is mitigate it. And what they can do to mitigate it is to let you sell your items to other players for real money in a way that Blizzard can monitor and, more importantly, monetize, because they do take their cut from all of your real money purchases and sales. So again, I know why it's there. I've been against it, though, because no game is perfect, especially an online game, and pretty much from the launch of Diablo 3, they've shown that there's nothing to really dissuade me from that opinion. It's been bug after glitch after game-breaking bug fixes, glitches. It's an ongoing process of not good, and this is just not what they need at all. And not just because of the fact that it's a fucked up situation, but they really have been losing fans since Diablo 3 came out. A lot of fans have been dissatisfied with Diablo 3 and the way Blizzard has handled a lot of the things in Diablo 3 as a company, myself included. I haven't played it in quite some time, don't know if I will. So, when you're losing fans, that's not a good time to have a game-breaking bug like this, of this magnitude. It's not good, and this is the type of shit that's losing them fans. And I'm sure that they're going to get it fixed as soon as possible. But it's possibly not soon enough, Excuse me, I'm parched. So yeah, for a game and a company that's losing fans, it's not good. It's not good at all. And for all the acclaim that Torchlight 2 has been getting in its beta phases and its impending release, which I'm hoping is sooner rather than later. I've heard that it's been pushed back to September. Which, if you need it, you need it. If it's going to be a better game, awesome, go for it. I'll be bummed, but I'll live. So, all in all, not good for Blizzard. And I guess we're going to have to see how they're going to... I mean, I don't even know how you can go back and action something like this. I mean, you'd have to go back and, you know, I guess figure out who's done it. I mean, that's a whole other thing too. Is if it's been uncovered now, you know it's been happening for weeks. You know, so I mean, people could have been farming with impunity for you know, at least a couple of weeks. So you got to go back a couple of weeks. You got to figure out who's been abusing this glitch, and then you got to, you know, take some kind of action. And whether that's, I mean, like, what do you do? They already have the money. They've gotten the money from the sales. So how do you take it back? Like, how do you make them give it back to you? I'm not even sure how you would go about that. I'm sure there's just a mile of red tape, both legally and ethically, in how you do that. I mean, long story short, I don't want to be Blizzard dealing with the fallout from this, because it's going to be huge, and they're not going to like it at all, at all. But their problem, not mine. Don't give a shit. Well, I do give a shit for the community. As a gamer, I really don't care because it doesn't affect me, but it affects a lot of people, and it sucks. This past week, Nintendo pulled a Peter Molyneux. And for those of you who do not know, Peter Molyneux is, or was, the head of Lionhead Studios, and is a tool. No, he's not a tool. I'm sorry. He's a tool to me because he blew up Fable 1 to such an extent that I really thought I'd never have to buy another game ever. I was also young and stupid, but that's not entirely the case for the point at hand. And Fable 1 did not turn out anywhere near what he claimed it would be. So that's always been a sour note for me in regards to him, and it will never go away. But Peter Molyneux, he is the former head of Lionhead Studios. He's made such classics as Black and White 2, Fable 1, 2, and 3. He's fairly prolific. What he's best known for is running his mouth. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way. I mean, he really is one of the best hype men in the business. I mean, I can't think of anybody else, you know, who can get you as psyched for a game of theirs by just talking. He has that gift where he can get you riled the fuck up by just saying words. And normally the games don't tend to pan out quite as he would have you believe beforehand, which for many gamers has been his downfall, because you just don't fucking believe him anymore, because, you know, whatever. But you know, Nintendo pulled a Peter Molyneux, and they came out and said in an interview with Gamasutra, the president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, said that being first in the next generation console race is not important at all. One of the reasons we believe this is the time for Nintendo to launch the Wii U is that it's going to be important for the world. That's a tall order to fill. It's going to be important for the entire world. It's not just important for gaming or Nintendo or Nintendo's fans. The entire world will benefit from the system being released. That's a Peter Molyneux scale thing to say, because I can almost guarantee you it won't be important for the world. I can almost guarantee you it won't change the world, and I can almost guarantee you it won't change video gaming. I mean that's really Nintendo's MO. It's really just more of the same with a fun gimmick that wears itself out over a couple of years. It was this, you know, the one exception, to be perfectly honest with you, to that rule, I believe, is the Nintendo DS, because I do believe that the dual screen format really was an important change for handheld games, and it's lasted much longer than 2 years. But I mean, the 3DS, the Wii, some might argue the GameCube, you know, it's just more of the same. And I mean, I know there are a lot of Nintendo, I don't want to say fanboys, because that's a bit negative, but faithful. And I'm not one of them. Growing up, I didn't have an NES or a Super NES. I had a Sega Genesis. I was a Sonic man. I played Vector Man. I played Shining Force. I played Sega games. I didn't play Nintendo games. So I don't have that same connection to franchises like Mario and Zelda and Metroid that a lot of other gamers do. So that allows me to view what Nintendo says and does a bit more objectively than other people, and mostly to the chagrin of my friends, which I enjoy because I like pissing them off, because fuck Nintendo. No, not fuck Nintendo. Well, maybe fuck. I don't know. But anyway, so they came out and they said this, and like I said, I can almost guarantee you none of that's going to happen. And it's the same thing they've said with the DS, with the Wii, with the 3DS. It's always the same rhetoric of game-changing, world-changing, life-changing, and it never really is. It's just the way Nintendo handles themselves, which, I mean, I gotta give them credit for it. They really, have a lot of self-confidence, which is not a bad trait, but it can lead you to say some stupid things like what I just said. And now, that's a Peter Molyneuxism. And for those of you who don't really understand why that's the case, he's got a game coming out August 22nd. It's called Curiosity. And pretty much it's a game where you chip away at a black cube. That's it. But it's online, it's persistent, and it's simultaneous. Whoever has the game can chip away at this black cube simultaneously in real time, and the effects stay. And then, as you get closer, you get to the center of it, and the center of it is, I guess, the end game. It's the reward. Whatever's in the center of this cube is the reward. And the only caveat is that the only person who gets to see the center of the cube is that last person. That last person who chips away, and there's the center. He's the only person, or she is the only person who gets to see the end reward. Now, I mean, sounds like it is what it is. It doesn't sound too fantastical. What is fantastical is that Peter Molyneux has said that the secret at the center of this cube will be, and I quote, life-changing. It will literally change the way you live your life when you beat this game. If you beat this game, it will change everything. Not only will it change everything, he says, it will be prominent enough to be featured on the news. All of this from a game where you pretty much break a giant black cube. So you can see how the parallels are drawn between what Nintendo has said and what Peter Molyneux has said. Whether it will be life-changing remains to be seen. It comes out August 22nd, and I can assure you it will be beaten shortly afterwards just to see what's so goddamn life-changing. But, I mean, Nintendo, really? The Wii U? Important for the world? I don't think so. I don't think that's the case at all. But I guess we'll see if you can live up to it. Now, the main portion of the Monday News Rundown this week is going to take a little look into indie development. It's something that has become much more prevalent in the gaming world, especially with the advent of Xbox Live Arcade, Steam hopping on the bandwagon, PSN hopping on the bandwagon, and allowing indie developers a much greater realm of accessibility in terms of getting their material out there to really hit a boom with games like Braid, Limbo, Bastion, Journey, and more recently Fez, which is what I'll be talking about now. Fez is a game that I have not played personally. It doesn't really matter personally. I haven't played it personally or impersonally. I haven't played it. I want to. It looks fairly interesting. That's not really what I want to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about is the developers of the game, Polytron, released a patch that fixed a lot of issues in their game. It fixed a lot of frame rate issues. It fixed loading issues, some skipping in-game, and some, from what I gather, infinite death loops. So, I mean, it was a good patch. Except that it caused a save file corruption in less than 1% of the players who played Fez. That's pretty bad. Now, they surmised that it was really only the people who had either completed the game or almost completed the game who experienced the save file corruption. So, I mean, unfortunately, it was the people who had invested the most time into Fez who may or may not have felt the effects of this patch. So, as any good developer would do, Polytron rolled back the patch and started working on, a fix for that corruption. The only problem was that Microsoft charges a recertification fee for any patches after the first patch. The first patch is free. The second patch, and any patches subsequently, you have to pay for. Microsoft doesn't give hard figures for how much stuff costs for developers, and in their statement, Polytron just broad-based it and said tens of thousands of dollars for the recertification for the patch of the patch. We know through interviews with Tim Schafer from Double Fine that some of the prices can go as high as $40,000 per recertification. So that's a lot of money. But they would pay that tens of thousands of dollars, who would recertify the game, then they could patch the patch. Now, Polytron is a small studio. They're not a big name. They're not widely known. They're not that successful. Fez was a success. I don't want to cause you think that it wasn't. Fez was a good game. It was a successful game, but that doesn't necessarily make Polytron a successful studio yet. They're small. They don't have a lot of money. And they decided that, really paying tens of thousands of dollars to recertify their game to patch the patch, it just wasn't a viable option. And, in their words, it's a shitty numbers game where they had to weigh paying that amount of capital versus helping out 1% of their player base. And in the end, the amount of money they would have had to spend won out. And it is a shitty numbers game, and I understand where Polytron is coming from, where they don't necessarily have $40,000 to spend to recertify the game to patch it, and it's just not an option. And unfortunately, the people who are affected might be some of their biggest fans, or the people who have spent the most time playing their game. But if they can't do it, they can't do it. And they actually go on to say that it's an Xbox Live exclusive title, and you would think that means Microsoft is paying them to stay exclusive to their system. It's actually the other way around. You pay Microsoft to be exclusive to their system, and Polytron says they owe Microsoft a lot of money, and it's not the other way around. Exclusivity, wow, retard mouth. Exclusivity is expensive for the developers who wish to remain exclusive. So here we are. We have a small indie studio makes a successful game, breaks the game by trying to fix the game. I don't want to say doesn't have the capital to fix it, but isn't willing to spend the capital to fix it because it's just not a worthwhile solution. And I feel for them. They're small. They don't have $40,000 to just throw around to recertify a patch that would help 1% of gamers. I see where they're coming from. And the general tone of the letter that they released to the public was, pretty much, Microsoft was kind of the bad guy here. Like, they charge so much money to recertify the game. We can't afford it, so you guys have to suffer, and we're sorry for that. And as I said, while that is a lot of money, that's also bullshit. And seeing things from Microsoft's side of the fence is, they signed a contract to remain exclusive to Xbox Live. On that contract, it clearly states that the first patch for any game is free. Okay? Any patch after that costs you money. And I know a lot of you might think, well, that sounds like a way for Microsoft just to make money off of developers. It probably is. I'm not going to say it's not. They're a big company. It probably is a way to make money. But, there is another reason for it, and that's fidelity. It promotes a high standard of quality. If you know that you've got to shell out that type of money to patch a game, you're going to make damn sure whatever patches you do release work, and they work properly, and your game works properly. And I mean, I got to give it to Microsoft in that aspect, is, pushing that level of quality in the games on your system is an admirable trait. It really is. In an age of gaming where quality isn't always a priority, that's a refreshing change of pace. For a major company to say, listen, you want to put a game on our system, it's got to be good. And it not only has to be good, it has to be good and stay that way. We don't want you to patch it a lot. We want you to release a good game. And if you have to patch it, if you don't have a choice, we'll give you the first one. But if you fuck that up, you got to pay for another one. And it promotes excellence by really making developers spend time making sure that their products are of the utmost quality. And they say, Microsoft says, no one gets a break. It's the same rule for everybody. Whether it's Polytron or Electronic Arts, everyone gets their free patch and then has to pay afterwards. Obviously, it's easier for some companies than others, especially in the example I just gave, where it's either Electronic Arts or Polytron. Obviously, Electronic Arts is going to be able, to spend that money for the patch much easier than Polytron. But on the flip side, Electronic Arts are a bunch of assholes who love money, so they're not going to want to. They want all their money. So it's the same standard really for both. And there's other reasons that people say that Microsoft does this, such as, patching things costs bandwidth, and that's a cost to them, which is bullshit, because I guarantee you they have more than enough money to fund the bandwidth to push through a patch for a game that's, less than 700 megs in size. That's just bullshit. So there you have it. There's both sides of the fence. There's the indie developer claiming, bullying by the parent company, and then there's the parent company saying, well, no, it's the same standard for everybody. You knew what you were getting yourself into when you signed on, and now you're crying about it. And really my take on it is both sides are right, both sides are wrong. It's as simple as that. In terms of Polytron, sure, the Xbox Live fan base is staggering, and for the most part static, because they're paying, a subscription on a monthly, tri-monthly, or yearly basis. Actually, I think there's even more options than that now. I haven't really checked it out because I've had a yearly subscription for about 7 years now, but I believe there's even more options. It is a static fan base. They're not necessarily going to go anywhere because, they paid for the service, they're going to stick it through, so they're there. That is a great boon. When you release an item on Xbox Live, people are going to be there to play it. It's not really going to be an issue. And, if you're an exclusive, Xbox Live is going to promote it a bit more. You are going to have that splash page on the Xbox Live Arcade on the marketplace. So, I can get that, why exclusivity with Xbox Live is a boon to an indie developer. However, you stick with one thing, and you're limited to just that one thing. That's the plainest that I can say it. If you had released Fez on multiple platforms, such as Xbox Live, PSN, Steam, iOS, stuff like that, you now are on a broader scale. And I'm not naive enough to think that that's not going to cost you as well. I'm not stupid enough to think that, releasing a game on multiple formats is going to be cheaper necessarily than being exclusive to Xbox Live. But I do feel that the benefits and the opportunities might outweigh those costs in terms of getting it out there and letting as many people as possible play your game. And for a game like Fez, which really does lend itself to the handheld scene, whether it's for a mobile device or it's for, I personally think it would be perfect for the PlayStation Vita, that's a whole market right there. Right now, mobile gaming in terms of iOS and Android, but more importantly, the iOS is a huge market. And you could get a version of Fez running on the iOS, and it would probably sell a lot of copies. And like I said, it would also be a perfect fit for the Vita on-the-go gaming. That's a whole other demographic you could tap into. And even Steam, you know, with their Greenlight initiative and their indie packs during the Steam sale, they're doing their part to help indie developers get their shit out there and noticed. So, you know, like, limiting yourself to Xbox, again, it makes sense, but it in this case pans out to maybe not being the best option to go with. You know, they knew their contract, and they shouldn't be surprised or outraged by the outcome. Now, Microsoft, I think, maybe doesn't need to have the same. I mean, I don't really know how to phrase it. I mean, I don't think they necessarily have to treat every company the same way. Personally, I would like to maybe see them give indie developers a bit more of a break when it comes to this kind of stuff. Because, like I said, $40,000 to Polytron is not the same $40,000 to Electronic Arts by any stretch of the imagination. But that being said, I don't want them to compromise, you know, this idea of quality over quantity in terms of their Xbox Live games. I mean, I got to applaud them on that. That's a really strong mindset to have in this world of gaming right now. So, I mean, yes, they're right for upholding their standard of fidelity. Perhaps maybe not taxing small studios quite as much, but then again, you run into the whole complication of a bigger studio saying, well, why do they get a break, and why don't we get a break? And that's a slippery slope that I think no one wants to go down. But I mean, you know what? The moral of the story is, to me, is it's better to broaden your options, spend a little bit more money, than constrain yourself and possibly spend less to launch your game. And I mean, we see how it backfired with Polytron. They're stuck with Xbox Live. They can't get out. They have a game that's broken for 1% of their players. Again, that's not a lot of people. But it is people. And it is people who are potentially very faithful to Polytron and Fez. So, I mean, it just is, it's a really interesting look into indie gaming that we haven't necessarily seen in the future. And I mean, this pricing for recertification has been going on for ages. We just really haven't had an issue or an account to look into until right now. So it's an interesting look into, you know, how indie gaming companies interact with these bigger parent companies that they operate under. And I do hope that a lot of upcoming indie developers and current indie developers can learn from this scenario, and, you know, and adapt and change in a way that they can be successful without falling into some of the same traps that Polytron fell into with Fez, and, you know, can get out there and flourish. Because I love indie gaming. I love what it represents, and I love the fact that it shows a lot of hope for the future in an industry that is growing stale and is growing a little stagnant in terms of innovation and gameplay experiences. So I like what they're doing. I hope they can learn from this and push forward. So that was my big rant for the Monday News Rundown. I believe I'm going to wrap it up, but not before I give you my shout-out of the week. My shout-out of this week is a game called Resonance, made by Wadget Eye Games. Resonance isn't a big title yet. I hope that changes. Pretty much, it's a perfect homage to the adventure games of the 1990s. Very much like Space Quest, Monkey Island, stuff like that. It's a beautifully done game. It looks like it's coming straight off of a PC in the mid-90s. It's got the same, like, handcrafted sprite graphical look to it. But it looks good. It plays good. It sounds amazing. The writing and voice acting is top notch. Very well done. And the gameplay is a lot of fun too. It centers around a big mystery concerning physics and possible world destruction. And you can switch between up to 4 characters at any time during the narrative. And because it's a 90s adventure game, the game does focus around puzzles, but it as was mentioned in the initial article on Kotaku that I read. I know, shame on me, I read Kotaku, but I tend to try to read everything that I can. It does hit that sweet spot between the puzzles not being too hard and not too easy. It keeps you going, and it gives you that sense of accomplishment. It's really cool. And the puzzles revolve around long-term and short-term memories, which is actually fucking a really cool idea in practice. Not just in theory, but in practice. It's really nice. Where you can look at any item or event in the game and add it to your memories. And they're either long-term, where they stick with you for the entirety of the game and can be used in future puzzles as you progress through the game. And then there's the short-term memories, which just stick with you for that scenario. And you can use them in that scenario to complete puzzles in conjunction with your long-term memories. So finding like that sweet mix of like, I need to remember what happened in the physics lab in Act 1 and combine it with this fire extinguisher in Act 4, and I can solve this puzzle. It's really cool. Really well done. It plays fantastically. I'm loving it. I've been taking it in bits and pieces because I have other games to play, especially with the Steam sale, but I'm getting close to beating it, I think. It's really fucking good. It's really good. It's not that expensive either. It really isn't. You can get it on a majority of systems, I believe. It's on GOG. You can get it on the developer's website, and you can get it on Steam starting the 25th, I believe. I just want to double check that for you guys because, like a bad person, I didn't put that in my notes. Yes, Steam on the 25th. So you have the option of picking it up on the developer's website. You can buy it digitally and get a Steam key to integrate it with Steam, or you can actually buy it physically and still get the Steam key. Or you can pick it up on GOG. Now the game, it's $25 for the collector's box edition, which gives you the physical disc, cardboard box, a printed poster with the characters, an MP3 soundtrack as a behind-the-scenes goodies, and again, it's DRM free, so you can play it on whatever computer you want to as long as you have it, or you can just buy it digitally, and it's $9.99. Like I said, it comes with a free Steam key. And you can pick it up at wadgetigames.com/resonance. Now, Wadget is spelled W-A-D-G... No, J. God, I'm fucking retarded today. I'm sorry. WADJETI games.com. wadgetigames.com/resonance. And you can pick it up. Like I said, $9. It's not expensive. It is well worth your money, regardless of whatever pack you decide to pick up for it. So I recommend it. Pick it up, play it, love it. It's a great game. And that's all for this Monday. I'm Thepromise. I bid you fine folks farewell, and I will see you next week. Adios.